show you how to make 6 different types of I-cords or chains that you can use in various different projects. One of the projects that I have, patterns that I have, is the Land of the Fairies Tunisian crochet shawl, and this is one of the integral pieces that we use for styling it, is making a cord that can be laced in the edging of the pattern, which we'll show at the end of this video. So I'm just going to quickly review the different types we're going to learn how to make today. The single chain cord. We're going to learn the double chain or slip stitch cord. Then we'll take a look at the cast on chain cord, the flat single crochet cord, the 3 stitch and 4 stitch I-cord made with crochet hooks, and the 3 stitch and 4 stitch I-cord made with knitting needles. They are the same, but they can be made in 2 different ways. Again, these are great for all different kinds of projects, whether you're going to use them for lacing crochet tops or lacing shawls, or whether you're going to use them in market bags or other types of pocketbooks. These can make great handles. They can also make nice bracelets, particularly the single crochet one. And another neat thing that a lot of people don't think about is you can use them as, obviously this is the one we use most as our starting chain in crochet, just the single chain, but any of these can be used as your starting chain for your project. And things like the I-cord are really cool to use for things like hats or even a shawl, anything that you'd like kind of an embellished border, a thicker border on. They also have the benefit of being nice and stretchy. So that's a design element that can benefit different projects. All right, so let's take a look at how to make each one of these. Okay, so the first chain we're going to show you is the most basic chain. And what we do is we're going to start with a slip knot, cross the yarn over, and then pull up a loop through that. Tighten it, and then tighten it on your hook. We have our tail, and we have our working yarn. We're going to be working with the working yarn. What we do is we yarn over and pull through the loop on the hook. Yarn over, pull through the loop on the hook. If you've crocheted anything, you already know how to do this. But if you're brand new, this is how you do it. And of course, just make it as long as you need it to be. The advantage of this cord is that it will be slim and skinny. It does have some stretch to it, but that will depend on the type of yarn you're using. I'm using an acrylic yarn. And then to finish off that cord, you're just going to pull through, cut the yarn, and pull that yarn through and pull it tight. And there's our first basic chained cord. And if you would like, you can take the 2 tails and you can weave them in through the back. So let's take a look at the next one. The next type of chained cord that we're going to look at is what I'm calling the double chain. And the way that this works is we're going to start again with our slip knot. And you're going to chain, yarn over, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through a loop. These are chains. You're basically going to chain a cord as long as you want it to be. And when you get it to the length that you want, what you're going to do is you're going to turn it over and you're going to work into these the back bumps. You can kind of see them if I turn it this way, into these back bumps along the back. So we're going to start in this is the first one. We're going to go into the second one. Yarn over, pull through a loop, and pull it through the loop like it's a slip stitch. So let's do that again. We're going to insert our hook into the back bump of that chain, yarn over, pull through a loop, and pull it through the loop on the hook. Go into the back bump, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull it through the loop on the hook. And you're going to do this all the way down. You're going to do that all the way down the chain until you reach where you began. And then what you will do is, oops, I just kind of messed that one up there. What you'll do there is you will just pull the yarn through, just cut your yarn and pull it through, just like we did in the basic chain. Okay, here we are at the end, and we go into the last back bump, pull through a loop, pull it through the loop on the hook. And then to finish off, we're just going to pull our yarn through, cut the yarn, and then pull that through. And you have what I call the double chain, or I guess you could also call it the slip stitch chain. Here's our first chain, our basic chain, and here is the slip stitch chain. It's a little bit thicker, a little bit more sturdy. So let's take a look at the next one. Okay, the next chain that we're going to create is something that I call the flat single crochet chain. It's a little bit wider on one side, and it has a good amount of stretch. So it's just a little bit thicker than our other two chains. Regular single chain. This is the double slip stitch chain. So let's take a look at this one, making this one. We're going to start with a slip knot, cross over the yarn, pull a loop up through that, tighten it on our hook. And with this one, I would start off not having your chains be too tight. Will make it easier for you to start it. So we're going to chain 2. 1, 2. And what we're going to do is we're going to go into the back bump. These are the front V's. And these are the back bumps. First one, second one. We're going to go into this one here. So we're going to go into that back bump. We're going to yarn over and do a single crochet. So yarn over and pull through 2. So now we have this V here. we just created a single crochet, and you can see this V, and it's pointing down at these other two V's. We're going to go into this, actually you can go into either one for starting, it doesn't really matter. We're just going to go into, I'm going to go into the outer one. This is why I said not to go too tight. It's just this first one that's a little hard to get into. Okay. Now that we're in there, we're going to do a single crochet. So we're going to yarn over, pull up a loop, and yarn over, pull through 2 loops. So we just made another single crochet. And here's that V again on the side. Here's the V again. Now it's pointing towards these 2 threads or loops. We're going to go into both of those. And for every time from now on, there'll be those 2 there, and we'll be going into them. So we're going to yarn over, pull through those 2, and then we're going to pull through the 2 loops on our hook. Another single crochet completed. Here's our V again, and here's our 2 loops we're going to go into. So you just kind of turn the work again, go into those 2, yarn over, pull through a loop, and then yarn over, pull through 2 loops, another single crochet. So you're always turning the piece away from you this way. We're going to go into these. Here's our V. It's pointing to these 2 threads. We're going to go into those. Yarn over, pull through a loop. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops. And there's our V again, and there's our 2 loops. So once you get going in this manner, you'll just keep going. Until you have it the length that you desire. In the beginning, it might seem a little bit that it's not looking as nice as you might want it to, but it shapes up. So I'll meet you back here when I have it a little bit longer. Okay, so now to bind it off, we just yarn over, pull through the loop on the hook, cut our yarn, pull the yarn through and tighten, and you can weave these ends in if you would like, or if you're going to be threading this through some of your work, you can leave the tails on for more easily to thread it. You can put a yarn needle on this for threading it through eyelets or whatever piece you're working on. So that is the flat single chain cord, and we'll just compare it to, this is the slip stitch double chain, and this is our single chain. All right, let's take a look at the next one. Okay, so this next one I call the cast on chain, and here I've got a short little bit of it to show you. It's probably about the same thickness as the slip stitch double chain, but it has a different look. You can experiment with these to see which one you like. So I'm going to just pull this out and redo it. With this one, we're using both the working yarn and the tail to create this particular chain. So you're going to need a long tail. You'll need to kind of probably maybe overestimate, or you could do a little sample to see how much you use per stitches, how much yarn you use per stitches, kind of get a gauge on it to see if it's going to be a really long tail and you want to make sure you don't run out. So, but what you'll do is you'll get that tail as long as you want it to be, and then you're going to do a slip stitch at the corner. You're going to have your working yarn above and your tail below, and you're going to hold them with one hand. I put the working yarn around my index finger and the tail down below between my thumb and forefinger. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the tail and wrap it around. Hold that with your finger. We're going to yarn over and pull through. We have two loops on our hook here. Okay, so we have the slip stitch. I'm going to take the tail end around, making kind of a loop. We're going to take the working yarn and we're going to yarn over and pull it through those two loops. And we're going to do that again. Yarn over with the tail, and then yarn over, pull through two loops with the working yarn. Yarn over with the tail, and then yarn over, pull through two loops with the working yarn. And when you get the hang of it, you can kind of speed up a little bit. After I do the yarn over, I kind of hold on to the cord and the tail at the same time as I pull the working yarn through. Okay, and then when you're done, you can just take both of these both of these pieces of yarn, the working yarn and the tail, and you can pull them both through that final loop, and then cut your working yarn, pull them both through, and just tug it tight. And that is the cast on chain. It has these two edges that look like kind of like knit stitches where you have these V's, and then it has a third edge that looks almost like purl stitches. And we'll take a look at that compared to these other ones. It's probably closest, as I mentioned before, to the slip stitch double chain. Obviously bigger than the single chain and smaller than the flat single chain. The flat single crochet chain is kind of dense. a nice bracelet. Obviously these cords can be used for anything. You can use them in the Land of the Fairies shawl. You can use them if you're making pocketbooks. You can use them to make bracelets. You could even use them as a starting chain if you wanted to. This cast-on chain is kind of a nice, if you need to have a nice and stretchy beginning chain for a project, maybe a shawl that you want to have good drape. You could use this as your beginning chain and then just work into each of the stitches. All right, let's take a look at the next one. Okay, so this next one we're going to make is, it's a tube chain, and we can make it one of two ways. We can either make it with a crochet hook, or we can make it with 2 knitting needles. And I'm going to show you both ways. It can be made with either 3 stitches or 4 stitches. This one is in 3 stitches, and it's round all the way around. It's about, I guess, a little bit smaller than the single crochet flat chain. It has a good amount of stretch to it, and it's pretty easy to make. So let's take a look at this one, how to make it. Okay, so if we're going to make it with a crochet hook, we're going to make a slip knot, cross over our yarn, bring up the yarn through that loop, pull it tight, put it on our hook. What we're going to do is we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And then, like the we looked at our anatomy of our chains before, let's do that again. We have the V's in the front, and when we turn it over, we have our back bumps. There's 1, 2, 3. We're going to go into the second and third back bump and pull up a loop in each of those. So this is the second one. Pull up a loop, go into the third one, the third chain from the hook, and pull up a loop. So now we have 3 loops on our hook. What we're going to do is we are going to hold those 3 loops. We're going to pinch them, especially this one that's on the far right side. You want to really pinch it down where so that it doesn't come through, so that it doesn't come undone. So you pinch those 3, take it off the first 2, and grab your working yarn, yarn over and pull through the first one. Go back into the second chain, yarn over, pull through the second, and then go into your third one, yarn over and pull through. Now we have 3 loops again, and we're going to repeat that. So we're going to hold these 3 loops, pinch them, come out of the first, these 2 on the left, yarn over, pull through the first loop, go into your second loop, yarn over, pull through that second loop, go into your third loop, and at this point when you go back into the third loop, you can stop pinching them, yarn over and pull through that loop. We pinch them again. Keep the tension on your working yarn loose so that when you're pulling on the yarn, it's not pulling on this third loop. Yarn over, pull through a loop, go into the third loop. And again, once you're going into that third loop, you don't have to be pinching anymore. Yarn over, pull through a loop. Just do a few more of these. Yarn over, pull through the first loop. Yarn over, pull through the second loop. And then yarn over, pull through the third loop. Pinch our loops. It's definitely easier if you don't make your loops too tight. Okay, and you'll just continue in this manner until you have it the length that you want it. And I'll meet you back here to show you how to finish it off. Okay, so when you're ready, you're just going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. You're going to cut your working yarn and pull that through. And then you can take your yarn needle and you can just insert the thread up through the end of that to hide your tails. So this is a really nice one. I guess it's about the same width as the flat single crochet chain cord. This one is a lot denser. This one is squishier. This one probably has a little bit more stretch to it than this one. And these can be used just like these other ones. You can use them as a starting chain. So a neat place to use something like this would be in a hat on the brim. If you were working a hat from the brim up to the top of the hat, you could use this as your starting chain, and it makes kind of a cool, I-corded edge. This one is actually called an I-cord. So I'm going to show you how to do that now with 4 loops, and then I'm going to show you how to do it with knitting needles. And even if you don't knit, it's pretty easy to do, and you might want to just give it a try because it is a little easier to make it with knitting needles than with a crochet hook. All right, let's take a look at that. Okay, so to make the 4 chain 1, we're going to do our slip stitch. And we are going to chain 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to go into the second back bump. So we have 4 chains. We're going to skip the back bump of the first one. We're going to go into the back bump of the second one, pull up a loop, the back bump of the third one, pull up a loop, and the back bump of the fourth one, pull up a loop. And we're basically just going to do the same thing that we did with the 3 loop I-cord, just with 4. So we're going to pinch those 4, carefully let them off. I'm going to grab that working yarn, pull it through the first loop, go into the second. Oops, sorry about that. Pull it through the second, go into the third loop, yarn over, pull through that, and then we go into our 4th loop, yarn over, pull through that. And then we're going to pinch those again. And don't do what I did, don't make them too tight. It makes it a little harder to get that hook out. Pull through the first loop, pull through the second loop, pull through the third loop, and then pull through the 4th loop. pinch them, and just keep going around again. First loop, second loop, third loop, and fourth loop. Do that again. Pinch your loops. Go into the first one, yarn over, pull through. Go into the second one, pull through. Go into the third one, pull through. And we'll go into the fourth one and pull through. Okay, and you'll just keep going with that as long as you want that cord to be. And when you're done, you'll just yarn over and pull through all 4 loops. And then probably yarn over and pull through that 1 loop will work best. Cut your yarn, pull the yarn through, pull it tight, and there you have, this is a 4 chain, and this is a 3 chain. So it's, as it grows, it's going to be slightly thicker than the 3. Also good amount of stretch and squishiness. So now I'm going to show you how to make these, both of these, with knitting needles. For making the I-cords with knitting needles, you'll either need two double-pointed needles or a circular needle. So we start out by making a slip knot, and then we're going to cast on 2 stitches. So we have our working yarn above and our tail below, and the way that we cast on is we take the yarn, the tail, and kind of twirl it over, put it through that, and then pull up a loop and tighten that. Twirl it over, go through that loop, grab the working yarn, and pull through a loop. Okay, so it's just those 3. And then what we're going to do is we're going to slide these down to the opposite end. If you're using double-pointed needles, just slip it down to the opposite end. And then we're going to just knit these 3 stitches. You're going to want to pull the working yarn tight behind. And to knit, we go in the front of the stitch from left to right. Take the yarn, yarn it over from left to right, and then you're going to pull that yarn up onto the other needle. We'll just repeat that. Knit, yarn over, pull up that loop. I'm just going to get this tail out of the way. And then knit the last stitch. And then what we're going to do is slide it down. Grab that working yarn, grab it kind of tight, and then we're going to knit these 3. So 1, 2, and 3. We're going to slide that down sure we're using our working yarn. Pull that working yarn tight. Yarn over, pull up a knit stitch, yarn over, pull up a knit stitch. Okay. Slide these down. Pull that the working yarn tight. Going to knit, knit, knit. Again, we're going to slide this down to the other end. Pull that working yarn tight. Knit, knit, and knit. So it's going to give you the exact same effect as making it with crochet needles, crochet hooks. The difference is that, whoops, and look at that, it just popped off. The difference is, and if that happens to you, just know that you'll put them back on. The working yarn should always be over here on the left. I'm going to pull that working yarn tight, knit these 1, 2, 3, and just keep doing that until you have the length that you want, and then you'll finish it the exact same way, which is to you can actually grab your crochet hook, put it through, grab the working yarn, pull through the 3 loops, and then pull through 1 loop. Cut the working yarn and pull it tight. So that's a 3-loop one. And then if we're going to make a 4-loop one knitting, we just do basically the same thing. We're going to make a slip knot. We're going to cast on 3 more stitches, working yarn, tail, flip it over, go through that hole, grab the working yarn, pull on a loop, tighten it, go through that loop, pull on a loop, tighten it, go through a loop, pull up the loop, and tighten it. Now we have 4 loops on the hook. And then we're going to slide it down. We're going to pull that working yarn nice and tight. That tightens up this stitch here. Insert our hook, yarn over, and we knit, and knit, and knit, and knit. Okay. We're going to slide it down. Pull that working yarn tight. And we're going to knit these 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And And just like anything, this stuff always looks a little flimsy. Just like any project, it'll look a little flimsy as you're first starting out, but as you go along, it'll take shape nicely. Knit, 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 knit. Okay, slide it down. Pull that working yarn tight from behind. Knit, 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 knit. Pull that down. Pull the working yarn tight. Knit, 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 knit. We'll just do one more. Pull it down. Pull that working yarn tight. Just looking at this, analyzing it, for that first stitch, it's a little weird knitting that first stitch. It's going to come over the top of your needle from left to right, and then you pull that yarn up. The next one feels like a regular knit stitch. Okay, so I'll come back here when we have it a little bit longer. Okay, so to complete this, you can just take your crochet hook and go through all 4 loops, and then pull the yarn through, yarn over, and pull through all 4 loops, and then yarn over, pull through that 1 loop. Cut your yarn, pull the yarn through, and tighten. And then there you have it. So let's take a quick review of these different cords. We started with the single crochet, then we have the double slip stitch chain. This is the single chain, double slip stitch chain. We have the single crochet cord. We have the cast on cord. And then we have our 3-stitch made with a crochet hook and a 3-stitch made with the knitting needles. They're pretty much identical. The knitting needles one turned out a little bit tighter. We have the 4-stitch with a knitting needle and the 4-stitch made with the crochet hook. So those are your different types of cords. You can play with those and see which ones you like. Again, these are great for using with projects that you need like a cord on, like a handbag or a market bag. They can be used as bracelets. They can be used as starting chains. You would just chain right, just start your next row of stitches right into these. You can use them as a starting chain for regular crochet, Tunisian crochet, even for knitting. You could pull up loops in those. And of course, hopefully the main thing you'll be using this for is in the lovely Land of the Fairies Tunisian shawl. And let me get that for you and show you how that works. Okay, so here we have the Land of the Fairies Tunisian crochet shawl, and I have it secured. Well, let me just start by saying on all the edges we have these eyelet edges, and we can use these button toggles, which I have a tutorial on how to make these. Just look that up in my videos. But another way that you can use these eyelets with the shawl is by taking your cord. So let's try this one here. This one is this is the cast-on cord. So what you would do, what I do, is let me just cut off one of these ends. I thread it into a yarn needle. It just makes it easier to weave it in and out of the eyelets. And then what I do is weave it through. Weave it through these eyelets to connect two edges together. This one's probably a little too, it could be a little too thick, but it's actually probably okay. And you would weave it through the opposite side, through the eyelets on the opposite side of whichever side of the shawl you want to connect it to. The slip stitch one probably would work better. It's a little thinner. And you just take the two sides I'm going to use the regular chain, and I thread the needle with the tail end, and then I put the two edges together for whatever style I'm going to be putting together, and then I just weave in and out of those eyelets to make whatever shape I want to make my shawl into. And I will have another video that will show you the different ways that you can style this shawl using those eyelets. And if you'd like to learn how to make this shawl, of course, you can go ahead and take a look at the courses that I have on my website, lightandjoydesigns.com/courses. And you will see the course that you can take for learning how to make this Tunisian shawl. I walk you through the entire shawl, how to make it. And then I'll also show you how to style it in several different ways. So I'll have links to where you can see the different styles, and links to where you can sign up for the course. And for those of you who are taking the course and watching this right now, you'll probably want to make either the slip stitch chain, the slip stitch double chain, which was the second one we made, or just the plain single chain cord. It's up to you. So that's how to make I-cords with crochet and knitting. Thanks for watching. Please be sure to subscribe for more videos, and check us out over at my blog, lightandjoydesigns.com. Thank you.